Have you heard about copied acts starting up in the US? This is big news because it could change the way AI does business. And this week's unexpected news. Native Instruments dropping a bombshell update for Traktor, and if you are a DJ, you wanna hear this. And that is just the beginning. We have got the killer gear updates from AKAI, Behringer and Donner, plus the inside scoop on a hush MOOG synth that has been turning heads left and right. But wait, there is more. Instagram is leveling up with multi-track audio for reels, the Sphere is preparing for a mind-blowing EDM spectacular, and NASA is beaming hip-hop to Venus. You can't make this stuff up, folks, so you know it. It is that time of the week. It is time to tune in. We opened this week in the US Capitol and talking about something that seems to be uniting a country that shows signs of division everywhere. Both right and left-leaning politicians have sponsored a bill that would affect the way AI does business and could have a lasting impact beyond the US in how other countries approach their own laws. Those things tend to happen in EU. Good job, US! The Content Origin Protection and Integrity from Edited and Deepfaked Media Act what a name! Thankfully shortened from that insane mouthful to a copied act, is being promoted as a law to fight deepfakes. What it will actually do could be much broader and has introduced a newer term for everyone to talk about, and it is content provenance. Lawmaking in the US is a long process, and we are far from seeing anything tangible be put in place. But this is just the start to what may or may not become direction for the AI industry. The proposed bill would ask the National Institute of Standards and Technology, an organization that most US citizens don't even know exists, to develop a standard for content provenance information. This is a new way of saying an embedded piece of digital information that shows where and how the content was created. That information would then be embedded in copyrighted material. If the content provenance information was present in a copyrighted piece of work, then it will be unlawful for any AI model to train on the information. This is a very complicated way to look at AI training and different than EU stance, which simply stated that if companies state they want to opt out for training, then AI companies can't use their material. That sounded very simple and straightforward. Watermarks are not necessarily a new idea, as digital watermarks have existed for years, but making the system more standard is something that could be interesting. The AI companies are going to fight all of this simply because they want content they use fall under fair use laws. The bill still has a very long way to go before it is ready to even be debated, and with the way AI is rapidly evolving, by the time they create the standard, this all could mean nothing. Traktor DJ software is now old enough to order alcohol in any country, vote, and go fight in wars. Launched in 2000, it was one of the first virtual DJ software available on the market. It has been updated through the years and continues to be one of the more popular software pieces that Native Instruments makes. But we all thought that it kind of died out. However, version 4 launched this week, and the updates, while not as big in numbers, are definitely big on valuable additions to the features. One of the most requested features from users, flexible beat grids, make it easy to mix tracks that may have more than 1 BPM present in a track, something that is becoming increasingly popular. This allows the sync technology to adjust to any tempo changes without creating issues or artifacts in the song during the playback. This also allows new tools like stamp separation and drum kits to work even when a 120 BPM breakdown happens during a 175 BPM drum and bass roller. Who doesn't like that? And yes, like I mentioned, there is now drum kits included to do immediate live remixing or replacing a section with the new stamp separation tools. If you like a vocal from one song, You can now use a tool taking directly from iZotope's RX platform and extract those layers while adding your own creative section to complement the singer. While stem separation has been available in other DJ software for some time, having the industry-leading RX algorithms included means you will be getting the best quality isolation. Another iZotope addition is a maximizer setting on the master, taken directly from Ozone. By adding the maximizer settings to the master channel, differences in gain settings and phasing caused by sound overlaps between two tracks become less apparent. This smooths and thickens mixing sections where the audience may have previously been aware of the transitions. Other improvements include a more functional waveform readout and an expanded effects section with tweaks to the analyzation algorithms. They include Ableton Link and MIDI data that gives even more flexibility for integrating the software into any performance setup. I will put a link to the update in the description below for those DJs interested in taking a new look at the software. If you are enjoying the video up to now, please consider like and subscribe. It really helps a ton. AKAI dipped their foot in the stem separation game back in March when it allowed MPC owners to do stem separation but with a catch. Previously, owners of the devices had to hook their hardware up to a laptop in order to access the features. Now, the devices have received an update on Live 1 and X devices that has integrated Z-Plane's algorithm to do the splitting locally. While this was a welcome addition to the hardware, there is a catch that has been a bit controversial as the update isn't free. It costs $10. It is not an expensive update, but paying to get a new feature on a hardware update has still been something that users have said isn't worth it. Stems are the future of performing music and remixing, of course, and it is of course good to see both hardware and software companies investing in adopting the technology. Last week, I discussed how Behringer was considering a direct-to-consumer sales model to try to speed up the process of getting newly announced synths into customers' hands. This week, 2 new synths are not going to be part of that process, but you can order them now and get them in 3 months, 4 months maybe? You will see. The Proton is a paraphonic semi-modular synth that was announced back in 2022 and is an original concept from the company who's better known to clone devices. The synth features 2 analog oscillators with 5 waveforms, sync, post-width modulation and independent third sub-oscillator. 2 filters can be run in parallel or serial and a ton of modulation available to assign different parts of the synth. For example, 2 ASR envelopes which can loop 2 ADSR envelopes and 2 LFOs giving you a lot of options. A wave folder and a noise generator are also available to make both harsh and more analog style sounds out of your oscillators. There are 64 patch points, but since the synth is paraphonic, it does have some limitations in the style in which you can play it. As is typical with Behringer, one of the best features is the pricing, as the whole package is available for around 400 euros. The other new device available this week is a desktop version of its controversial UB-XA synth. The UB-XA-D has all the new features of the UB-XA keyboard version, just without the MPE capable keys. If you are looking to save space but want the 16-voice polyphonic sound of the classic Oberheim, the price point of 850 euros make it much more attainable than the original version. Both the Proton and the UB-XA are listed as available in several months, so you still have a while before you can hit buy now and see shipment heading your direction the next day. Another device that has taken a while to get the consumers is the Donner D1 drum machine, but this week people can get their hands on it. Announced at NAMM back in 2023, the D1 is 12-channel sample-based drum machine that has a really reasonable price. Donner is a Chinese-based manufacturer whose B1 baseline acid synth was well received as a low-cost monophonic synthesizer emulating the Roland 303. The D1 doesn't emulate any one device, but instead is a sample base with a 4GB internal memory with 16 pads, 4 faders, and various knobs for applying effects and parameters. There is a 64-step sequencer for each channel and can hold up to 656 beats, which can be combined in song mode that reduces to 64 total songs of space. The device also doesn't take up much space on your desk, but gives you 64 kits that come installed on the device and a USB-C port to import your own samples. One questionable feature is that sample import is only available through a donor build-up, so if the app is no longer supported after say 5 years, the device will no longer allow you to add your own samples. The D1 is priced at €300, so while the app may give you some pause, it is not a big investment for a device that seems pretty interesting. In 1972, synthesizers were very different from what you see and hear today. ARP Instruments, a company founded by Alan Robert Perlman, where the ARP comes from, was building the noisemakers in Massachusetts. I think I pronounced that pretty cool. The 2800 model, called the Odyssey, was the world's first duophonic synthesizer, allowing two notes to be played simultaneously with their own envelopes. The Odyssey and the Mini MOOG were considered the best synthesizers on the market. The Odyssey built specifically for touring artists by including a small 3-octave keyboard. While MOOG has stayed in business and continues to make synthesizers, albeit sold newly, ARP started to have issues and by 1981 was bankrupt and out of business. These synths are still sought after today, with software companies keeping the sounds alive for new generations. UV is known for their sample-based reproductions of vintage synths, especially with their Vintage Vault collection, and honors the Odyssey's heritage. Based on the original MK1 design, the HX Odyssey features 280 presets built from the original synth. Like the original, there are 2 oscillators and a recreation of the 2-pole VC controlled filter that was very similar to Oberheim modules in how they reacted and sounded. If reliving the glory days of vintage synthesizers make you excited, the HX Odyssey is available for just $49, and I will put the link in the description below. Speaking of MOOG, almost said MOOG. Speaking of MOOG, they are having some issues with keeping things under wraps lately. The latest leaked product comes from a Norwegian retailer who accidentally posted a page for the Muse. While not completely secret, as the synth was seen on the stage at the Super Bowl in the US in January, and Andrew Huang of course has shown synth shots of the yet to be announced synth. So before the retailer could pull the page, the details had been saved and shared online. So the synth is an 8-voice polyphonic synth with 3 oscillators and 1 oscillator available as a modulation source. 2 signature ladder filters that can be linked, run in parallel, series or stereo, which is something brand new for a MOOG synth. 2 multi-trigger looping ADSR envelopes with variable curves per stage, 2 LFOs and a dedicated pitch on the LFO will give you plenty of modulation sources. With the new stereo engine, panning is also available for each of these voices and timbrels, and that means you can positionally spread your sounds out in space. There are also some new digital stereo effects like a multi-tap delay and what is called a diffusion delay. An arpeggiator, 64-step sequencer, chord memory, and 16 modulation slots per timbre make this a real flagship synth. The price indicates this is meant to be a high-end device, as it was listed as, wait for it, €4,300, although none of this has been confirmed by MOOG yet. The unit will be slotted in between the €10,000 one and €2,000 matriarch. That means this competes nicely with the Sequential Prophet and Oberheim line of synthesizers and matches them for features and pricing. When TikTok's legal status is questioned through the globe, competing platforms are trying to find new ways to attract users back to their platforms. Meta's Reel platform on Instagram was a direct competitor for TikTok when it was launched in 2020. The latest update is bringing a feature that could be of interest interest for content creators and especially producers and DJs. The update brings multi-track audio to the platform, letting users add up to 20 different songs to each reel in the editing process. Viewers will then see which track is playing on each part of the reel, but also have the option to download the mix and use it on their own creations. For producers, they can now feature a whole EP worth of work on a single reel, or DJs can showcase multiple tracks for video they have taken of an event. You can also sync text, stickers and other elements to the tracks, creating a completely new way to create short-form content. While TikTok, Meta and YouTube fiercely fighting for short content dominance, I'm sure we will see responses from the other companies soon too. When the Sphere was opened in 2023, and videos start circulating of the massive visuals that were created for audience that attended the opening U2 concerts, the question was who the first EDM act will be to play the venue. In one of the most obvious answers on the planet, the giant LED screens for their performances has been announced as the first dance artist to grace the screens. Of course, I'm talking about Anyma from Afterlife. It actually would have been surprising if anyone other than him were first to get a chance to wrap the audience in visuals. As part of the New Year celebration in Las Vegas, Anyma's The End of Genesis performance was originally announced as a December 31st only showing, but almost immediately was expanded to a 3-night performance. In true Vegas fashion, VIP packages for hotel for 2 nights at the connected Venetian Hotel and tickets for the show are going for $1,000 per person. With a capacity of 37,500 total attendees, it will seem all 3 nights by the time this airs will already have sold out. Let us know if you got your tickets or are planning to be there for this history-making event. Also, I want to know how truly baller my audience is. I know someone will be VIP there. Don't disappoint me, people. From one giant sphere to another, the US Space Organization, NASA seems to think that any aliens who may call Venus home are sure into hip-hop. I'm not sure exactly why, but in what is being called the first hip-hop song sent to space, and it was sent to Venus. Whether Venusians will be getting down to the rain and twerking their little green booties remains to be seen. What is certain? That it took the signal 14 minutes to reach the planet and return as a reflection to the broadcasting satellite. That is a bit faster than the 310 years it is taking the Beatles across the universe to reach its destination of Polaris, the North Star, that NASA broadcasted back in 2008. What was not on my bingo card for 2024 is for NASA to have one of the better interplanetary radio stations in the galaxy.